of the Marine Corps, Eric Smith. This is the guy who's going to be going to the Middle East to command the potential war in the Middle East soon. And I want you to listen to what he says here. He basically threatens the Hamas and Hezbollah and all the jihadists. He threatens them and says if anything happens to the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit that's over there in the Middle East right now, that anybody targeting them is going to have their kids raised by someone else. So basically threatening any jihadists. So let's listen to what he says here. Very, very strong words.
I'll be less diplomatic and more Marine-like. For those that are in the area, if that MEU has to go in, if you target them, someone else will raise your children.
Okay, so he said that at the Beirut Memorial Observance just 2 days ago. Okay, he said if that MEU, Marine Expeditionary Unit, the one that's in the Gulf of Aden, if that MEU has to go in and you target them, your kids are going to be raised by someone else. Okay, I mean, that's just classic Marine speak right there.
I'll be less diplomatic and more Marine-like.
He says, I'll be less diplomatic and more Marine-like.
I'll be less diplomatic and more Marine-like. For those that are in the area, if that MEU has to go in, if you target them, someone else will raise your children.
Strong words there, guys. Strong words. And we have the U.S. assessing that the missiles fired by the Houthi rebels from Yemen last Thursday had a range of 2,000 plus kilometers, guys. Where do you think the Houthi rebels are going to get 2,000 plus kilometer ballistic missiles? They're not going to make it themselves. They're going to get it from Iran or someone else. Okay, so obviously Iran is supplying the Houthis, so that's pretty concerning. And we have the leader of the Ansarullah movement in Yemen. He's saying that they're ready to mobilize hundreds of thousands of fighters to go to Palestine to fight against Israel. Okay, so this is the leader of the Ansarullah movement in Yemen. Okay, and he says, our people are ready to mobilize hundreds of thousands of fighters to go to Palestine and join the Palestinian people in the sacred jihad against the Zionist enemy. Okay, so he's calling for jihad basically here. Okay, join the Palestinian people in the sacred jihad against the Zionist enemy. Okay, so I'm telling you guys, they've already declared jihad. And when Israel goes into Gaza, it's going to be worldwide jihad. It's going to be crazy, okay? Please make sure you guys are prepared. Things are going to really spiral out of control very soon. And here we have a video coming out of Egypt. The Egyptian president inspected his troops. And I want you to look at how much equipment Egypt has ready to go. Okay, look at all these tanks, guys. This is just mind-boggling. And all these missiles. Look at that. Okay, Egypt is ready to go to war. And I don't know if they're going to go to war with Israel, but they're ready to go, basically. Okay, there's the Egyptian president. Looks like they have these HIMARS here, or M270s. They have a lot of U.S. equipment. There's an M1 Abrams. So I don't know if Egypt's going to turn on Israel, but they have all kinds of American equipment. Look, they have Humvees, they have M1 Abrams, they have M270s, which are basically just HIMARS mounted onto a tracked vehicle. But, I mean, just a massive amount of tanks. Look at all these tanks. Okay, this is insane. Okay, so Egypt is preparing, and I want to read to you what the Egyptian president said. And the Egyptian president said, our military is alert and ready to answer our nation's call. The army will preserve Egypt's national security without transgression. And the Egyptian commander of the 3rd Field Army said, "We are in the highest levels of combat readiness, ready to cover the ground wherever we are assigned to go to maintain the security of the homeland." Okay, that's what the Egyptian president said. And Erdogan had some things to say today. Erdogan is the president of Turkey. He said, "We will do everything against Israel diplomatically and militarily if necessary." Okay, we will do everything against Israel diplomatically and militarily if necessary. He also said that Netanyahu abused Turkey's goodwill and announced that he has canceled his visit to Israel. And he said that the U.S. and Israel will lose because they oppose justice. And he also said that countries outside the region are adding fuel to the fire in the name of support to Israel. Okay, so Erdogan is against Israel. He's against the U.S., yet he's a member of NATO, and we have nuclear weapons in Turkey. Okay, we have several dozen B-61s in Turkey. Okay, and Erdogan spoke with Putin just 2 days ago, and they agreed on the fact that Israel is basically stepping outside of their bounds, and they basically agreed on one position on the situation in the Middle East, which is an anti-Israeli position. And it's very rare for Erdogan and Putin to agree on anything lately. Okay, but for them to agree on this is very concerning. And we have French President Emmanuel Macron going to Egypt today to meet with the Egyptian president. And Macron already met with the King Abdullah of Jordan in Amman. And Reuters is reporting that Australia has deployed 2 more military aircraft and a significant number of defense personnel to the Middle East to help support its citizens there if the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas escalates. Okay, so Australia is deploying their forces. And we have the Danish embassy in Beirut urging Danish citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. Okay, so all these countries in Europe and around the world are getting their people out of Lebanon, telling people to leave Lebanon. So obviously Lebanon is going to turn into a war zone. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken asked the Qatari Prime Minister less than 2 weeks ago to tone down Al Jazeera's rhetoric about the war in Gaza. And apparently Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is skeptical about the plans of the Israeli Army Command and is determined to delay the start of the ground operation in the Gaza Strip, according to Axios, citing U.S. officials. And apparently U.S. military officials are trying to steer Israel away from the type of brutal combat the U.S. engaged in during the Iraq war, sources tell CNN. U.S. military advisors are urging Israelis to use a combination of precision airstrikes and targeted special operations raids. They are also drawing on strategies developed during the battle by U.S.-led coalition forces to retake the Iraqi city of Mosul from ISIS, which relied more heavily on special operations forces. Like Hamas, ISIS built tunnels throughout Mosul and used civilians as human shields. Okay, so very interesting. The death toll of Americans in the Middle East as a result of the attack from Hamas is much higher than what's being reported. So that's pretty serious, okay? The Washington Post is reporting that Biden is investigating the possibility of striking Iran's satellites in the Middle East, and that the Biden administration is concerned about attacks on American bases, and they may begin soon attacking the pro-Iranian groups in response. And while Republican members of Congress believe that the retaliatory step will be in favor of the United States, Democrats behind closed doors are expressing fears that new conflicts may arise. Fox News is reporting that U.S.-led coalition forces have started live fire exercises at military bases in Iraq and Syria after more than a dozen attacks on American troops over the last week. left more than 20 soldiers injured. The Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve said on Wednesday that ground operational exercises to validate weapons systems and maintain crew proficiency and readiness would happen in or near the Al-Hasaka region in Syria and the Khalidia region in Iraq. Okay, so U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria are doing live fire exercises now. Okay, my guess is they're probably going to start testing the CRAM systems, making sure the CRAM systems are all working. They're probably going to do tactical exercises all the way down to the individual and small unit levels. So this is pretty serious, guys, okay? The Iranian foreign minister warned the U.S. of an unimaginable response if its facilities are attacked. If the U.S. strikes Iran and its associated infrastructure, the response will be beyond all imagination. Okay, that's what the Iranian foreign minister said. Okay, that is crazy, guys. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Deputy Commander-in-Chief Fadavi said, "We have technologies in the military field that no one knows about, and the Americans will know about them when we use them." And so last night, the Israeli Defense Forces carried out some kind of significant ground operation in the Gaza Strip involving a number of armored vehicles with mounted infantry and tanks. This operation is claimed to have been much larger and penetrated deeper into Gaza than previous raids, with the goal being the destruction of forward positions used by Hamas and the strengthening of defenses near the border fence. And that's what you're looking at right here. This is thermal imagery provided by the Israeli Defense Forces showing them.
You want to know all about Iran's armed forces? Stay with us and you'll learn more than you ever expected. One of the most unusual military powers in the Middle East, let alone the world, is the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran's 2018 defense budget was estimated at $19.6 billion. The service branches of Iran fall under the command of General Staff of Armed Forces, include its army, its Revolutionary Guards, and law enforcement. Here are some interesting things that you should know about their military. Iran's military consists of two parallel organizations, being the regular armed forces and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The country has an estimated 534,000 active personnel in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Iran spends about 4.5% of its GDP on defense. Iran's armed forces struggle with aging hardware, but ingenuity and upgrades have helped the Air Force to maintain a fleet, which includes United States-made F-14 Tomcats and F-4 Phantom jets. Last year, Iran unveiled what it said was the fourth-generation fighter. Iran has also developed ballistic missiles with a range of up to 2,000 kilometers, but argues that they are defensive and not designed to carry nuclear warheads. Iran's Navy has been showcasing its mini submarines, which can launch cruise missiles. The boats are believed to carry a crew of 9, weighing less than 150 metric tons. In 2011, Iran took control and captured an unmanned U.S. Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel while in flight and used the technology to create its own drone. In the case of mobilization, one of the 5 forces of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Basij, can provide the armed forces of Iran with at least 11 million soldiers, which would make the Iranian army numerically equal to the American, Russian, and Chinese combined. When it comes to security, since the mid-1980s, Iran has sought to establish programs to develop weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear, biological, and chemical weaponry, and by the late 90s had achieved some success in domestic production of medium and intermediate range missiles, effective from 480 to 965 kilometers, and from 965 to 5,310 kilometers away, respectively.